Imagine you're a car salesman. A client walks in and orders 1,000 brand new, top-of-the-line luxury sedans. You're ecstatic. It's the deal of a lifetime. You ship the cars across the ocean, they're delivered, and the client starts driving them immediately. But then you send the bill and you wait. 1 year passes, then 10, then 50. Not only does the client refuse to pay, but they actually have the audacity to keep driving those same cars right in front of you for half a century. This isn't a hypothetical scenario or a sketch from a comedy show. This is the geopolitical reality of the Great Volvo Heist, a story about how North Korea pulled off the ultimate drive now, pay never scheme, and why Sweden is still mailing them an invoice in 2024. To understand how Sweden fell for this, we have to travel back to the early 1970s. If you look at North Korea today, you see a hermit kingdom struggling with basic infrastructure. But 50 years ago, the narrative was completely different. Following the Korean War, North Korea underwent a massive industrial boom. Backed by the Soviet Union and China, their factories were humming, their skylines were rising, and for a brief moment in history, their GDP was actually outperforming South Korea. To the Western world, North Korea looked like an emerging tiger, a new frontier for trade and investment. The nation's leader, Kim Il-sung, had a vision. He wanted Pyongyang to look like a modern, technologically advanced utopia. He wanted the world to see his officials in high-end, reliable vehicles that screamed stability, and that brought him to the doorstep of a neutral, unsuspecting nation, Sweden. In 1974, Sweden was looking to expand its reach. They saw North Korea as a massive, untapped market. They weren't just selling cars, they were selling the idea of a partnership. And the centerpiece of this deal was the Volvo 144. Now, for a Western audience, the Volvo 144 is a legend. It wasn't the fastest car, and it certainly wasn't the sleekest. It was boxy, heavy, and built like a literal tank. In the 70s, it was the gold standard of safety and durability. It was a car designed to survive a Swedish winter, or, as it turned out, 50 years of North Korean neglect. Pyongyang placed a staggering order, 1,000 Volvo 144 sedans, along with millions of dollars worth of heavy mining equipment. For Sweden, it was a massive export victory. For North Korea, it was a declaration of status. The ships arrived, the keys were handed over, and suddenly the streets of Pyongyang were flooded with Swedish steel. Everything seemed perfect until the first payment was due. The Swedes checked the accounts. 0. They reached out to the North Korean trade representatives. Silence. Initially, the Swedes were polite. They figured it was a currency conversion issue or a banking delay. But as the months turned into years, the grim reality set in. They had been ghosted on a national scale. The North Korean economy had gambled everything on its mineral exports, specifically copper and zinc. But right as the Volvo deal finalized, global commodity prices plummeted. The North Korean economy, rigid and unable to pivot, went into a tailspin. But instead of sitting down to renegotiate like a normal trading partner, the Kim regime simply stopped picking up the phone. They kept the cars, they kept the equipment, and they effectively dared Sweden to do something about it. This is where the story shifts from a trade deal to a bizarre diplomatic tradition. Most countries would have written this off as a total loss decades ago, but not Sweden. The Swedish Export Credit Agency has a very long memory. Twice a year, every year, for 5 decades, they have recalculated the interest, adjusted for inflation, and sent a formal invoice to the North Korean government. That original 1974 debt has ballooned from a few $1 million to a staggering $322 million USD. It is officially recognized as the longest overdue car payment in human history. Every 6 months, a Swedish official licks a stamp, puts an invoice in an envelope, and sends it to Pyongyang, knowing full well it will be ignored. But here is the most haunting part of the story. If you visit Pyongyang today as a tourist or diplomat, you might see something impossible. Peeking out from behind a modern bus or parked near a government building, you'll see it. The unmistakable boxy silhouette of a 1974 Volvo 144. These cars are 50 years old. In any other country, they would be scrap metal. But in North Korea, they are prized relics. They've been repaired with mismatched parts, salvaged and kept alive through sheer willpower. They are the ultimate testament to Volvo's engineering. The cars were so well built that they actually outlasted the very era of diplomacy that brought them there. The Great Volvo Heist is more than just a funny trivia fact. It's a window into a forgotten moment in time, a moment when the West thought they could trade North Korea into being a normal neighbor. Today, those Volvos serve as moving ghosts on the streets of Pyongyang. They are a daily reminder of a deal that was never closed, a debt that was never settled, and a nation that decided it was easier to steal 1,000 cars than to pay for its own future. So the next time you're a few days late on your car note, don't stress too much. You've got a long way to go before you beat the record holders in North Korea. Because somewhere in Pyongyang, right now, a 50-year-old Volvo is starting up, and Sweden is still waiting for the check. The Great Volvo Heist, 1,000 cars, 50 years of interest, and a bill that will likely be mailed until the end of time. If you found this dive into history fascinating, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have a massive lineup of unbelievable true stories, deep dive documentaries, and historical mysteries that will be published right here on NovaCuts every week. You won't want to miss what we have coming up next. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.